Well, good morning. Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. Probably, I'm guessing most of you already knew that, but hey, just part of the show, going to say it every day. I want to come out and just talk to everybody real quick about Lions Talk Live. Let me know in the comments section. Peter, the Minnesota Vikings content creator, I had on the chat. Oh, what was it? We'll just say a couple days ago or whatever, wanting to go over. He was on the panel with Micro Mike, the Sergeant, everybody talking about the Lions trade deadline stuff. Reached out and asked if I wanted to do a joint broadcast tonight of the game. If you guys are interested in us doing that for the game, just go ahead and fire it in the comments section. If there's enough of you guys who want to all kind of chat about the game, we can all talk about what we're seeing, etc. Let me know. If we get, I don't know, however many people want to do it, then we'll go ahead and do that. If not, hey, we can all just sit back and enjoy it. All right, with that all being said, welcome to Lions Talk Live. It is game day. I know everybody's waiting for this game because it'll be the last time we see the Lions for 2 weeks. We all get that there is a huge importance on this game because obviously the Lions win. They go in 6-2, no worse than second place in the NFC. And I think we all agree nobody probably really anticipated going into the season that we really would just be a game out of first place in the entire NFC, not just the NFC North. Before we get in all that, you guys know that we have to talk about a couple of things. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, I'm going to ask you if you can, think about doing so. Trying to make a push before tonight at kickoff to get to 4,100. Want to say we're about 40, maybe it's, I don't know, somewhere high 30s away from that objective. So if you're able to help out with that, that'd be great. Also, don't be afraid to hit that like button, thumbs up button, whatever you want to call it button. If you would, that would help out a ton. Most of you know that outside of doing Lions Talk Live and coaching, I'm a realtor. Have been since, I want to say 92, somewhere around there. So if you're looking to buy or sell property in the state of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, wherever it may be inside the boundaries of the state of Michigan, give me a call. Shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. See if I can help you save some money. See if I can give you some, advice, some tips here, there, whatever it may be. Draw upon my experience to help make your process of purchasing a property or selling property a little bit easier. All right, I see the comment section is already moving and shaking, so let's get on over there. All right, let me scroll to the top. T-Born, good morning. Vikings will be done for the season if Cousins is indeed out. Ooh, I knew this was going to be a topic today. Nothing official, but you got Adam Scheffler and a bunch of other people in the hierarchy of the NFL and ESPN know-it-alls saying that, it's looking like he's torn his Achilles. It's unfortunate. And to your point, the Vikings are probably going to have to do some real quick thinking here. We all get Cousins did not have a contract for next year. Were they going to resign him? Who knows? But if they were thinking about rebuild before Cousins got hurt, they're probably definitely thinking about it now. Is Hunter available? The tough part for the Vikings is my anticipation is the MRI that they're going to want to confirm the injury is going to take place somewhere around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you do have a little over 24 hours. I guess, somebody else can do the math. We'll just say 40 hours to figure out before the trade deadline. Are you going to sell off some parts and just go all in on this rebuild? Or are you going to try to just still compete? I want to say entering this morning, they were like the number 7 seed in the NFC. So they've got to make some quick decisions and in a hurry. I don't wish injury on anybody, let alone another player or whatever. But to your point, I think, T-Born, is this going to be something that I think the Lions can say, hey, our chances to win this NFC North just went up exponentially. Do we really need to try to make a move or two before tomorrow's trade deadline? I'm going to guess a few people are going to have questions about that today. All right, Dave, what do you got? GNS, so I'm assuming greetings and salutations to everybody. Good morning, chat, and good morning to you too. Papa Noel, Santa Claus. All right, are the Vikings now massive sellers? I'm going to think, there's a real good possibility I knew this was going to come up today, but there's a real good possibility that, they're going to be selling off a lot of stuff here today. And I just think that's almost unavoidable at this point. I guess if you think that you're going to be now in contention for one of the quarterbacks coming out of college, and maybe you don't have to sell off as many parts because you think you're going to be competitive next year, My anticipation is if somebody makes a right offer, though, now where they might have been hesitant with the win yesterday to sell off anything, now they might be a little more open to those phone calls. Trey, what do you got? Good morning, Coach. What should our defense do tonight? Blitz a lot. Whatever you got to do to get pressure on Garoppolo, get him out of the pocket. He's not a huge scrambler to begin with. He's not incredibly mobile, and he's got a back issues. Even though he's going to play tonight, that back, for the injury he had to that back, 1 or 2 shots. I mean, I'm not trying to hurt anybody, but 1 or 2 shots on him, and he might be out again. On top of that, the Raiders, just to get into this a little bit, they do have some guys out, especially on that defense. I get they're going to have 1 or 2 of their corners back, but they're also more than likely going to be without 1 or 2. They might have as many as 3 linebackers out tonight. I'd say at least 2 for sure. Their kicker might be out. You want to respect any team you face because otherwise you give them a better opportunity to upset you. But I'm thinking where the way Detroit went this entire week as far as having to hear about Baltimore, what happened in Baltimore, I mean, they want to come out with everything they can to win this game. I think we've got some real good possibilities, especially, again, pointing to the Raiders' defense, how beat up they are. And if we're fairly healthy other than the offensive line, I think it's a recipe for Detroit to get a pretty good-sized win here. All right, keep going through the chat. Sorry, I'm probably talking a little too much during some of these. Jessica, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, too. Score prediction. All right, calling for it early here. I'm going to go with, let's make it 35-21 Detroit. I think, Raiders have some ability, especially on offense, to compete with us. I'm just really hopeful that we're able to get to Garoppolo and force a few turnovers. All right, what do we got? Anthony, good morning to you too, sir. All right, Eddie, good morning, everyone. Go Lions. Yeah, it's a big day for Lions fandom. I want to say, don't hold me to this, but the Lions have won 3 straight primetime games. That is the longest stretch in the team's history. So obviously a win here pushes that to 4 straight. And yeah, it's kind of crazy thinking that that's a team record. All right, what do we got? Willard, I have a bad feeling about this game. How come, man? Is something about the Raiders? I mean, no disrespect to any team out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm feeling good about it just because, it'd be different if we were in Vegas. But at least for me, I'm feeling good because of the way we played last week. I think it's going to really kind of have us fired up to come out here. The fact that Garoppolo hasn't played in, I want to say it's close to a month. So, he's going to be a little off timing wise, and his mobility is going to be affected by his back. So we'll see. All right, Property Lord, think we can win this one by 14-20? I'd say, yeah, there's a real possibility there. All right, Anthony, I know after Cousins' ACL injury yesterday, the division is ours. I would say, yeah, and we've been talking, Anthony, you, me, and everybody in the chat for, about a week or two now in regards to the trade deadline. If I'm the general manager, I see the window opportunity this year, and I'm all in on it. If I've got to trade a first and second to get 1 or 2 real legitimate players who are younger, I'm not trading for anybody over 30, to help shore up this team's defense, I'd be doing it, especially with the 3rd, 4th, and further down picks. It's just use Cousins as an example. The seasons can go bust in the NFL faster than I think any other sport. And 1 or 2 key injuries can derail a franchise huge. So you got an opportunity here. I agree with your point that unfortunately for Minnesota, with that injury, their season's going to change significantly, more than likely. It also means Detroit's path to get a number 1 or 2 or 3 seed just went up exponentially. And if it's me, I'm taking advantage. I'm not worried about 4 years from now. As long as I can trade for players that I believe will still be impactful in 2 to 3, maybe 4 years, then I'm fine with it. All right, what do we got? Darnell, finally game day. Go Lions. Yeah, I'm with you, man. It felt like forever from that Ravens game. And it's going to feel like that probably for the next 14 days as we wait for, after this game, the Lions to return. Robert, yes. All right. Assuming that's about the broadcast tonight. And again, let me know, guys, if you want us to do the joint broadcast, We'll go ahead and do it. One other thing I should throw in, when I did the Amazon Prime game against the Kansas City Chiefs to open up the season, everything was fine. We were in sync. To actually, the Sarge was behind me. I do have to tell you guys, it's often the case though, where it seems like my broadcast comes in, and Dr. Detroit and some other guys can probably remember this from the preseason when we were testing with some stuff. A lot of the times we were a play, sometimes 2 plays behind. So basically, my idea for the broadcast is we're all going to watch it. We're all going to receive plays at slightly different time frames. We're just going to talk about the game. Maybe throw out some ideas here and there, but probably not going to do play-by-play for those specific reasons. All right, Anthony, sure love chat during the game. Okay, so probably planning on it then. I'll let you guys know for sure. Michael, howdy, Dan, and Lions Faithful. Good morning to you too. Hopefully you're having a good one. Steve, I see some rumors about Sweat going to Atlanta. I could see that. I mean, somebody's definitely confirmed to made a trade. I can tell you, I believe the Lions are that team. Doesn't mean it is, but I think Washington's in a real tough spot. We've talked about this a ton. They've got such good talent in the front four. They can't pay everybody. So you're going to have to pick your poisons. You want to keep Chase Young, you want to keep Sweat, or do you want to keep both of them? But then you've got to get rid of somebody like Allen. I can't answer that. I'm not the Commanders, but I can tell you that I'd say this time next year, probably 1, maybe 2 of those guys are gone. Donnie Berg, good morning. Greetings and salutations to you. Didn't expect a move to be made. I don't expect a move to be made, yeah. I hope something happens just because and I'm being selfish here, I think we can make the push for the Super Bowl this year. I don't want to wait for hopefully another good setup. But we'll see, man. You could be 1,000% right. We'll see what shakes out. All right, Anthony, Raiders secondary is cheeks. I was actually going to say the opposite, but I mean, you may be more right than me, man. Just from what I've watched this week, I will say this, to your point, they're real beat up in the secondary. They are going to probably miss a few guys, so that could make their secondary cheeks. Their linebacker core, yeah, they're already going to have 2, maybe 3 guys out. Their defense is a little beat up. But the other side of that is we've got some real unknowns with our offensive line going into tonight. I do hope that Frank Ragnow toughs it out and plays. I hope Big V toughs it out and play, having both of them know that, hey, you got 14 days to rest and recuperate. What I can't tell you is the extent of their injuries. Ragnow's cap's really that messed up, then you don't want him out there because he's actually going to be a hindrance to you. Big V, yeah, I mean, this is his last year in Detroit. There's just availability is your best skill set, and if you're constantly unavailable, then you really don't have much value. All right, JP, what do you got? Let's go Lions. Yesterday was a good day for Lions. Yeah, I mean, other than maybe, man, I guess there's 2 ways you can look at that Philly-Washington game. Philly wins, Washington may be more apt to sell. Washington wins, it helps push Detroit back towards the number 1 seed. So it is what it is, man. Brother Ken, greetings from Denver, where the wind chill is -5 below 0. Well, hopefully you're staying warm, man. You maybe have a fireplace or 2 going. Maybe have a Mountain Dew. I know it always warms me up. Willard, the Dew Halo is back. Yeah, I could move it out of the way, but hey, anybody ever see Barry Gorey's The Last Dragon? Just think of the power of the glow. I was thinking about that this morning because I knew putting that screen back up, that was going to lead to some of that. All right, Michael, what do you got? With Kirk Cousins out with an Achilles injury, do you think Hunter is available? Michael, I would think that it just comes down to their brass. Do they think they're going to be competitive without Cousins? I personally think from the quarterbacks they have, plus some of their other injuries on offense, they're probably going to take a dive, and they're probably not going to make the playoffs. So if that is correct, and I'm not saying it is, but if it is, you got to start thinking about the future, right? Cousins, you're probably not re-signing him. Probably should have traded him to the Jets and the band. They would have had 2 quarterbacks out with Achilles. If it's me, yeah, I'm probably looking to get as many trade parts or capital as I can, and Hunter's probably up for sale. We'll see what happens, but I think the first thing the Vikings got to do is they've got to get through that MRI around 10 a.m. And so by noon, they can assess their situation. Coaches, front office, all talk about, hey, what are we going to do from here? If that's the case where they're moving forward and thinking about a rebuild, then I think a lot of the younger players are going to get out on the field the rest of this year. Maybe the next game or two they try to win. And hey, if we get some wins, then maybe we keep trying to push for the playoffs. If they get a few losses in a row, though, I think we all get they're probably focused on the future versus current players that are a little bit older in age. All right, Brent. Sorry, that was probably a long answer there, Michael. Brent, what do you got? Good morning. Good morning to you. Could we trade Teddy Bridgewater to the Vikings? And if so, what can we get from him? Because they need a quarterback bad. It's funny you bring this up because I was actually talking with some buddies, not reporter buddies, yesterday about that very scenario. One of them is an incredibly diehard Minnesota Vikings fan. And I said, how about this? Teddy Bridgewater and a pick for Hunter. Then that would actually have to mean that you're probably fairly confident that Hendon Hooker's ready to become your backup. But I know in that scenario, I'd do it. I don't know what else you would have to give up besides Bridgewater. But if you could get Bridgewater for Hunter and maybe, I don't know, maybe a fifth round. Well, we don't have a fifth this year. Maybe a fourth, maybe a sixth, something like that. I'd probably do that in a heartbeat because really Bridgewater's gone after this year. All right, last, what do you got? I have heard some rumors that Browns are trading for Chase Young, so Myles Garrett is available because the Browns get into cap problems next year. Would you give it a go? Man, for Myles Garrett, yeah, I'd give it a go for him, man. Him and Hutchinson, yeah, I think that would be murder's row for other quarterbacks. I mean, you'd have to give up quite a bit, but yeah, if the Browns are legitimately looking to trade Myles Garrett, you'll see, I would think 75% of the league try to get him. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but I think, yeah, if I'm Detroit, I'd be all in because that defense just got massively improved in that secondary. You don't have to be you don't have to be Deion Sanders to cover somebody for 1-2 seconds. Man, you got me thinking now. All right, Nine Drinks, what do you got? Good morning. Game night, let's go. And yeah, again, if you guys want us to do the game broadcast tonight, just go ahead and let me know in the comments section. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Lions Talk Live, trying to push for 4,100. All right, Pierce, what do you got? Morning, Dan. With the Commanders' loss, where does that leave things with Sweat trade you mentioned last week? I think it's got to increase things because their path is getting a whole lot more difficult. I guess, maybe they're doing a deep dive with what happened with Minnesota, saying, hey, we still got a chance for one of the playoff spots. But irregardless, because I think they're trying to get something, knowing that they can't re-sign both players. They technically they could, yes, resign both, but along with what you've already given to your tackles, now how much money are you going to invest into those pass rushers? So let's play this out. I want to say between both tackles, they're currently spending, I want to say $30 million a year, and that's going to go up. So you got $30 million out of whatever next year's projection for the salary cap is. Now you're going to have to pay probably close to that, if not closer to $20 million for both Young and Sweat. I mean, maybe it's 15. We'll just say 15 each. So, all right, so there's another $60 million. So now you got, excuse me, there's $60 million altogether out of your cap into those front four, with a probably higher tendency for it to being closer to $80 million. You're going to really put 60 to 80 million into your front four on defense. That's up to them, but obviously it diminishes what they can go out and get on the rest of the team. And what we can say for the Commanders the last few years, that front four has been there. Yes, injuries have happened, but they also haven't been making big pushes into the playoffs. So it's probably time to reassess. I guess the short answer, Pierce, is I think they've got to be looking at all trade opportunities to get rid of one of those guys at least. So I'm hoping the Lions are still going after Sweat. We'll see what happens. I mean, literally, we'll know in 40 hours. All right, Phil, good morning. Good morning to you. Hopefully you're having a due one. JP, they still have 2 years of dead money on Cousins. The Vikings are going to have cap problems. Yeah, and there's some creative things they could probably do to try to augment that. That also being said, it's part of the business nowadays. They're going to have to eat it for a couple years, which obviously helps us. Don, I see an article that suggests Kyler Murray to Vikings. Ooh, that'd be something. Don, any information on what they were at least speculating the Vikings would have to give up to get him? That would be something, though. Bergs, good morning, Lions faithful. Good morning to you, Bergs. Hopefully you are also enjoying your morning. All right, Phil, Vikings looking hot. Yeah, and it just comes down to what they can do with Cousins. Obviously, if this would have happened last week, their goose would be cooked. But like Don just said, is there some opportunity for the Vikings to go out and get another quarterback? Yeah, they're gonna be in scramble mode, knowing that they're gonna have to figure everything out in 40 hours. Jay, what do you got? Hello. I would think with the Stafford injury puts them in the same scenario as Vikings, probably out of the playoff picture. Yeah, I saw he went out. Does anybody know what the injury was to Stafford? Because I didn't pay that much attention to the game since the Lions have no vested interest in the Rams' performance at this point. I saw the highlight of the pick six and saw that they were getting crushed. I didn't really pay attention to what the injury was. I do know he's been struggling with back and hip injuries. That's why me just being a person, not a commentator or whatever, I really hope Stafford hangs it up after this season. His body's gone through a ton of beatings, and there is still life after football, and he's got some kids, a family. Yeah, I don't want him to be the punched up dude being rolled around in a wheelchair drooling. So, anyway, brother, can somebody wake up J Mommy? Yeah, hopefully she's here soon. Robert, trade Hooker for first and third. Ooh, who would you trade him to? It could be some teams looking, but yeah, that's a heck of a thing. Oops, I meant sleeping. Yeah, I knew where you're going, man. All right, Kevin. Good morning from Zeeland, Michigan. Still need a defensive end and wide receiver. 36-hour sale begins. Hope Mr. Holmes has some shopping lists ready. Yeah, and part of you guys have heard me talk about part of his job is establishing relationships before the trade deadline. That's why you make the calls. That's why you kick the tires. Use Hawkinson's trade. When he traded Hawkinson to Minnesota, he probably talked to half the league about it, trying to assess where the best value or return on his trade would be. No different than when he traded Stafford. We all know that he talked to, was it Carolina, Washington, in several teams. Sometimes there's the belief that when you make a trade, that is the only time you've ever talked to anybody about that. And it's just, at least in my experience, either as a former GM or a reporter or a coach, that's never the case. Unless somebody just blows you out of the water with some sort of offer that you can logically say, I'm never getting better than this, then yeah, these guys talk almost daily to at least a certain amount of other general managers. I thought one thing with the movie Moneyball, they did a fairly good job with, is they showed all the calls and all the stress and anxiety that Brad Pitt's character went through, about thinking about how to build a team and stuff like that. That's pretty much an everyday life for a coach and general manager, especially at the professional level, let alone the collegiate level. It's also why most of them don't stick around in good health very long, because the stress is nonstop, especially during the season. So it's my anticipation, Kevin, that Holmes has been on the phone yesterday. He's going to be on the phone today, and he's been on the phone for about a month straight, trying to slowly establish a market for particular players or picks. So, yeah, we'll see what comes out of the 36-hour sale. All right, Jerome, what do you got? Always love your show. Hey, thanks for that, man. Are the Lions buyers at the trade deadline? If it's me, man, I'm buying. We got a real opportunity here to do something what the Lions haven't done in 30 years, and beyond that, 60-some years. Win one of the top 3 spots in the NFC, and from there, win a playoff game. If we happen to get the number 1 seed, you got to win 2 games into the Super Bowl. Go win, because you don't want to think, man, next year's the year, and then 1 or 2 catastrophic injuries take place where next year isn't the year. I get the draft picks have value. I get we all want to bring in younger players, build to the draft, but there has to be a point where you say, I can't promise tomorrow. I can see what today is. And in the NFL, unlike any other sport, man, one hit can change an entire team. Heck, you don't even have to get hit if you look at Cousins. Sometimes it's just the way you plant your foot's wrong, and that changes the team. If Goff goes down for this team, it's nothing wrong with Teddy Bridgewater, but is he at the same level as Goff? Probably not. Doesn't mean he couldn't come out and be the next Joe Montana, but the likelihood is limited on that, especially since he's been around. You probably have a pretty good idea what you're getting, but I hope we're buying. We'll see what Holmes does. Bergs, never want to see players get injured. Sucks for Cousins. Feel bad. But that's being said, go Lions. No excuses now. Take control of this division and run away with it. 100% agree. Get after it. Do whatever you can to secure it. And realistically, if you look at the rest of the division, you win it this year, you've got a real good opportunity to win it next year. And man, oh man, when's the last time we could even talk about winning division, let alone potentially 2 or 3 straight? Get after it. Non-hooker, not worth a first and third. Come on now. Hey, man, Don, somebody's willing to pay it. You accept, even if you don't think you should. There's nothing wrong with, somebody's desperate and they got to throw more at you than they should. All right, what do you got? The Cousins injury is the reason why we shouldn't trade Bridgewater. One play can change everything. There's that too. There is that part that if you do trade him, you're going to leave yourself exposed. And that's what I was saying. It would really come down to where you think your assessment of Hendon Hooker is, because you don't want to have to trade for Tim Boyle or somebody to come back. So, I mean, you would have to feel comfortable with your backup quarterback situation. Anthony, what do you got? Lions going to make their secondary pay their serious cheeks. Let's hope so, because, with what a couple of you guys have talked about, you look at our health, and I do anticipate St. Brown's going to play okay. I get he had the flu or whatever yesterday. But, man, I got to imagine all day today they've got him on. If he's dehydrated and he has the flu or whatever, they're going to have him on IVs most of the day to keep him fluid. They can probably medically help boost him for, a 3-hour window to get him maybe not to 100%, but 80 to 90% of his normal strength and capacities. So I'll say this. You have him out there, Laporta, Reynolds, Raymond, J-Mo, Gibbs, especially with a lot of their linebackers out, maybe 1 or 2 of that secondary. I think there's a real opportunity that Detroit could put up some numbers today. Of course, you got to still stop the Raiders too, but we'll see what shakes out. Phil Cousins, got injured. It's not confirmed what the injury is. It's believed to be his Achilles, and obviously if it's Achilles, there's just timetable-wise, you're not going to pull an Aaron Rodgers where you damaged it on week 1 and he might make it back for week 16. I mean, that in itself, Rodgers pulls that off. That is near a miracle recovery. Cousins, obviously, even if he pulled off the same time frame, the season would be over for Vikings. 9 drinks saying 40-3 Lions. Yeah, if they pull that off, we all may have 9 drinks on the live show tonight. So just the food for thought. Bergs, 37-24 Lions. Phil, how are you not in your pajamas? I get up around 4:30 to 5 o'clock every morning to begin stuff for the day. So it's part of my multiple jobs, I guess. I take a break to do this because I enjoy the heck out of this. I hope you guys get that. But I do this just for fun, and it's fun to me. All right, Jerome, I'm going to be at the game screaming my lungs out. Are you going to be there? No, I go to maybe 1 or 2 games a year. For me, it's hard because you got to drive over 3 hours, drive back 3 hours. Of course, you're going to tailgate pregame and all that stuff. It just means I got to put a bunch of other stuff on the side, and then I got to make up for it the following day. So, Danya, just get that W. At the end of the day, that is all that matters. Bergs, I agree. Willard, history. Last time the Lions started 5-1, we ended up going 5-5. Look at the 91 season. I remember it well. Yeah, and last time we got, think about that 91 season when we went to the NFC Championship game. We got blown out. I think it was week 1 of the season, wasn't it? Willard against Washington, and then we ended our season getting blown out by Washington. But it is what it is. If we make it to the Super Bowl and get hammered by the Ravens, I'll probably be okay with it because we made it to the Super Bowl. All right, BD Buster, I didn't hear if it was torn. Yeah, I don't think they're going to officially announce anything until they get the MRI results back. But, I'll say this, the likelihood is high that he damaged it or tore it. But we won't have confirmation until probably later today. You're 100% right on that, BD. Jim, what do you got? Good morning, Dan. Do you think Lions will score 35? Where is the scoring coming from, especially without David Montgomery? I would say this. I think just because of the way the Raiders are set up, and again, with a lot of their linebackers potentially out, I think you're going to be able to run the ball with some of the other guys. Plus with their secondary, even the guys who are going to play, there's going to be some injured dudes out there. I believe with us being at home, we're going to be able to move the ball both through the air and down the ground. I could be totally wrong, but that's my anticipation. A lot of that comes down to how we're going to block. The Raiders have got to know, and they're going to be paying attention in pregame, who's in and out for us. If we're really having to start three backups in the center of our offensive line, I got to imagine Glasgow goes to center, Scoresdale, one of the guards, and then I'm not sure who the other guard would be, but either way, it wouldn't be an ideal situation. If I'm the Raiders and I see that, I'm probably coming out testing the Lions' blocking assignments and abilities to pick up, especially with three guys in a loud Ford Field, having to think under pressure and big lights of Monday Night Football. There's going to be some miscommunications, and the Raiders are going to have to try to capitalize on that. That also being said, if the Lions hold up, if the Raiders go Blitzburg on us, you're going to leave a lot of one-on-one coverage against some really good skill positions. If Goff can get that ball out of there and somebody breaks a tackle, say like J-Mo or Khalif Raymond or Gibbs in a one-on-one matchup, they can do a house call, and that would force the Raiders into a more passive defense, which I think Goff would probably do pretty well against. All right, Don, what do you got? This 2023 pass is the pass. Let's give these young guys a shot and see what set their own legacy. Yeah, and I think there's some of that. I want to, one of the things, Don, I want to really see tonight is Gilmore. Does this kid get a shot finally? Him and Broderick Martin. I do think there's a potential both of them get out there and play. So we'll see. All right, 9 drinks, 49ers and Chiefs went down. Yes, they did. And, 3 in a row for the 49ers. It just shows you, man, a couple injuries. And it doesn't just have to be to the quarterback, can change a season. And that's why, not to, beat on the drum too much here, but you got an opportunity here. Go for it. You can't promise what's happening next year. Maybe that's just the Lions fan of me who's been sitting here waiting an eternity for an opportunity like this. Anthony, what do you got, man? Do you think Brad Holmes is going to do anything? I sure hope so, man. I think yesterday, for the most part, universally across the board, aided the Lions in the potential to pull off a trade. Just because, a couple teams that we needed to lose lost. Denver, they pulled off a great win. But irregardless, if there are going to be teams trying to sell, it's just going to be whether or not they're parts the Lions want and at a cost they want. I'm hoping that we do, just because, again, like you guys heard me say 50 times today, don't let this season, don't let anything come back and bite you later in the season with injuries. All right, Jeffrey, what do you got? All Lions legends in town for Lomas. Yeah, that's right, Lomas Brown night. Can't wait for the game. Yeah, in case you guys don't know, Lomas Brown is going to be inducted into basically the Lions Hall of Fame. So there will be a lot of people out there. And again, another reason why the Lions players currently on the team are going to want to play at a high level, because they're aware of Lomas Brown. They know who he is. They know all these dudes who are going to be here today. It'll be interesting to see who all comes in for that game. I got to imagine there'll be quite the turnout, because he did play at an incredibly high level for Detroit for a long time. And he won 2 Super Bowls. Unfortunately, neither with Detroit. BD, so was it confirmed? Is Kurt out? I don't think it'll be confirmed till later today, but I'd say the probability is he's probably done for the year. Well, I'll have to pay attention to the news. My guess is by 1 or 2 o'clock, there'll probably be some official announcements. Could be later in the day, but I'd say that's a good time frame. Bergs, yes. All right, the Grit stopped Detroit versus everybody. He played with a broken neck. He is going to play. Cousins played with a broken neck. I guess I didn't know that part. Yeah, I mean, if he's able to play with a broken neck and a torn Achilles, if it is torn, then Kirk Cousins is next level. Jerome, what do you got? What about Jim Harbaugh as our offensive coordinator? Boy, I would say this. I don't think it's Harbaugh's personality to take a subsidiary role. So, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, something like that. I think at this point in his career, it's head coach or bust. Maybe I'm wrong, but Christopher, what do you got? Should the Lions work a deal with Minnesota using Bridgewater? Yeah, I mean, if Cousins is really out, they're probably going to be looking to salvage this season if they can get a quarterback. The only thing is, are the Lions going to be willing to part with Bridgewater? To me, like I've said earlier in the show, the only way that happens is if they're confident Hendon Hooker is ready to come off IR and be the backup quarterback. Max, I think this game is going to be a nail biter. I hope you're wrong, man, but it definitely could happen. Could we be down 3 with 2 seconds to go and Patterson has to hit a field goal? Sure, it could happen. All right, Don, Jim Harbaugh lowering his standards to becoming an OC. I needed that laugh. Yeah, I don't think it would happen, but stranger things, right? Exit 8, Vikings will trade for a quarterback. There's a high probability of that if they feel like they can salvage the season. Purdy, 5 INTs in the last 3 games. Yeah, and that's crazy because he went from basically this kid never threw him to yesterday. I mean, he didn't help his team. I would say that. Phil, will TK85 play today? We'll see. We will see. Tom Kennedy, yeah. Man, maybe just because I think they were probably going to elevate Green or Drummond over him, but I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. Silver Surfer, good day, Coach. Denver game going to be very difficult as well. We do not fare well on the road with them. Same as Carolina, Ravens, and some others. League changes every day. It does. And think about this. I remember talking with a number of Lions content producers, I want to say after the first game or 2 of the season, and everybody writing off this team, that team. And I go, man, things can change, especially early in the season, so much in the NFL because players get hurt. Players, everybody gets on the same page as far as schematics. I would just say, yeah, don't count anything as a win until there's like 0 seconds left on the clock. Denver seems to be getting things together. It's not going to be a great, probably weather environment for the Lions. The running game could help us, but if the offensive line's all beat up, the running game is going to be impacted. And, just so much could change, Silver, as you're pointing out, before that game. We'll just have to wait and see what shakes out. Smoke you some. Good morning. Another win coming soon. Let's hope so. I'm confident that we will get this tonight. Bergs, we are home against Denver. Oh, that's a good point. For some reason, I guess I was thinking we're on the road, but haven't had my morning Mountain Dew yet. What are you going to do? Phil, Micro Mike, too good not to watch him. Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's when I started this thing out, as some of you guys may know, the Sarge was actually his Sarge in the military. And he was like, hey, I know a guy that might be able to answer some questions for you. He hooked me up talking to Micro Mike, and then Micro Mike, he was more than gracious and helping me figure out some of the nuances of YouTube. All right, what do we got? The Grit Stop Detroit, Surtain for a first and Sweat for a third rounder, and Jones. Make it happen. I mean, that would be quite the additions to the team if we could pull that off. I could be way wrong. I'm guessing Denver's going to want more than a first, but I could definitely see a third for Sweat. We'll see what shakes out. Mark St. Brown out. He's sick. I don't know if he's going to be ruled out. I know he's been downgraded, but I think, man, I got to believe they're going to do everything they can to get him on the field, unless he's got like the Rona or something, or just really that sick. We'll have to wait and see. All right, what do we got? Terry here. Myles Garrett from Cleveland, rumored yesterday. First round Cleveland needs cap space. Yeah, it's light first. You could not get player of Garrett's ability. Yeah, I would say, yeah, if we could get him from Cleveland, I would do it. And, oh boy, I wouldn't give up 2 first rounders, but would I be willing to give up a first and second to get him this year? Yeah, I would. But they're also not calling me to ask for my permission what to do. I'm sick too, and it sucks. Yeah, sick. Being ill never is good. Berg's hand injury hit Parsons' helmet. Who's that Bergs that hurt his hand? I guess I wasn't 100% sure. It's his hand. Okay. Stafford's thumb. Gotcha. Stafford's thumb. All right. Well, I I hope the guy gets through the season and his wife talks him into just retiring. And maybe he just wants to keep going, but he's won a Super Bowl. I'm guessing he's done okay financially. Maybe it's okay to start thinking about the rest of the quality of your life. So see what he decides to do. Something with Stafford's hand. Yeah. All right. Ozzy Osbourne. Good morning, Dan. I think Brad will not make any moves in the trade. Everyone that the rumors played yesterday. Could be, man. He may pull off something. He may not. We'll have to wait and see. Ozzy Osbourne again. I think Gibbs will have a good night tonight. I think it's set up for them to have a pretty good game, especially offensively. And if they can come out passing early, maybe pull some of the Raiders' defensive principles off, change some of those schemes, then I think, Gibbs could really do some damage. On Tiger Town, time for Brad Holmes needs to make a move. If they want people to see them as real contenders, then time to make at least one big-ish trade. And again, we're all going to be sitting around watching tomorrow, seeing if they do something. And who knows? Maybe they could even do something today, but I think there's something. All right. Brand will not hurt the chemistry. He's played must-have characters. Okay. Yeah. The players must have character. Yeah. He's going to have – they're going to pay attention to who they're bringing in. Morning, I'm out. It's time for JMO to step up. So I guess maybe I haven't checked to see if there's an injury update, but are you guys saying that he's definitely out? At least on mine. Again, I did this at about 5:30 this morning. He hadn't been ruled one way or the other. So if I'm missing that, I apologize, guys. Anthony, we all have to understand that we don't control Lions front office. We look now at a Super Bowl run does Brad. That's a fair point. Maybe Brad doesn't think that no matter what he brings in, that they can make it there this year. That is a good point. Brother Ken, what do you got? I got an idea. How about Mel Tucker to Michigan so he can call another? Yep. Well, we'll just say that it's a possibility. If Harbaugh leaves, could Michigan go for Tucker? Sure. We'll see if they decide to go that route. Brother Ken, you're getting me, man. I almost read that all. So, Monteville, what do you got? Good morning from Holland, Michigan. Do you think Holmes ready to make a deal, just not revealing yet? Yeah, and I do think most of the league was probably sitting around waiting to see yesterday's game results. People that were starting falling further and further out of possibility to make the playoffs, probably more apt to make a trade. Teams that are pushing up higher and higher and have reason to continue hoping they have a chance at a division or a playoff spot or whatever, they're now more apt to spend. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the next 40 hours, we're all going to be sitting around watching, and I do expect some moves to happen. Smoke you some. Ford Field will be electric tonight. 100% agree. Yeah, they're going to be that place is going to be packed. It's going to be loud. Especially if the Lions come out and put on a reason for them to keep cheering all game long, but, putting it on the Raiders. Yeah, that first half, especially if we're drilling them, yeah, that place is going to be electric, like you said. All right, the grid. Sun God is not officially out yet. Okay, yeah, and I hadn't seen anything this morning. I know he's sick, but again, I think they're going to pump him full of IVs all day and do everything they can to get him through today, and knowing he can take the rest of the week off. All right, Kyle, what do you got? Holmes going to make a deal today. It would be ideally timed. Jalen Carter, anyone? Yeah, I don't see that one happening, but maybe we can trade a 6th-round pick for him. Don't think that will happen either. Michael, what do you got? Would you rent Donald for 9 games? How much would it cost? I know a couple of people have talked about bringing Aaron Donald in, and he's still playing at a very good level. I think the Rams are just going to want too much. But if Stafford's going to be out for a while, their chances just took a big hit. Maybe they tried to get something for Donald. I wouldn't give up much because you know that he's likely going to retire after this year. maybe I'd give up a sixth or seventh. I don't think I'd go much over that for somebody you got for half a season. That's just me though, man. Nicholas, what do you got? Good morning. Do you know how true this is, Myles Garrett situation? I mean, Cleveland's in a tough spot because they gave up so much to get Deshaun Watson. And at first, I was almost wondering, is he just kind of BSing, like he doesn't want to be out there? But having listened to a few more medical people about his injury, it may be very legit. He doesn't want to go out there because he can't throw with much velocity. It just doesn't have much arm strength right now because of the injury itself is inhibiting his ability to move the ball effectively. So do you go out there and just keep throwing picks and incompletions because you can't hit particular routes because your arm and shoulder is that shot? Yeah, that's a tough one. But if they think, I guess to your point, if they do feel like he's going to be out a significant portion of the season, they might be looking to try to get something out of it. It's just tough, man, because their record isn't that bad. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I know if he really is available, I'm Brad Holmes, which I'm not, by the way. I'd be calling and saying, man, what do you need for this guy? All right, Cousins done for the year. I agree with you, Smokey. I think there's a real high chance he's going to be done. All right, he already had 9 drinks. Maybe 9 drinks as getting ready to take a nap. Maybe could be part of his morning ritual. I kind of what he got. I heard Garrett talk is real, and it may be. I'll make a couple of calls today and shoot out a couple of things. See what I hear, but right now I couldn't say one way or the other. All right, Ryan, will you be able to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow? Yeah. That won't be a problem. It's just part of who I am nowadays, man. Lions win 40-3. Please put crack pipe down. So, brother Ken, you're saying it's going to be more like Lions 57-2, maybe just kind of a courtesy score so they don't get shut out. Yeah, I think it'll be closer than that too, man. But hey, if we win by 50, I won't complain. Willard, yes, okay. Paul, Laporta, Amron, Gibbs, Goff, touchdowns count. I agree. And I think the offense has a real good opportunity to do something today. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but I think they're going to. Phil, I'm not sure on the uniforms. It's just something I don't pay a lot of attention to. I know there's been talk that they were going to wear the new stuff today, but I couldn't really tell you one way or the other, and I don't want to BS you. Kyle, defense can score too. Correct. Yes, we are. Paul. All right. Special teams will score. Field goals, are we talking touchdowns? Brother Ken, Lions win 43. This sounds familiar. Robert, J-Mo reverse 87 yards touchdown. That's what I do want to see out of them today is just a lot more trickeration plays. Man, do everything you can to get the ball into his hands and other players' hands. Some jet sweeps, delayed pulls, whatever you got to do, man. That kid can move. Everything doesn't have to be a deep shot, but I would like to see some stuff with him, Khalif, all that. Throw every trick play out you got there today with the idea that, man, we can come up with some more in 14 days or 13 days, I guess it would be. But anyways, Brent, new blue helmets are great. Too bad they have to wear them with the gray pajamas. Well, as long as we win, I don't care what they wear. Frank Craig now. Okay. About his broken neck before and stuff. I hope he plays, man, but the fact that he hasn't practiced in a couple days, that's pretty rare for Ragnow. So whatever the injury is, they're either being incredibly cautious with it or it's fairly legit. But we'll see what happens. Love this show. Hit that like button. Thanks for that, Pines. I can't see on my screen what it's at, but you guys can. If you guys haven't yet subscribed Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. If you would, take a moment of time and hit the thumbs up button. Excuse me. Phil Ragnow played with a neck injury. That is correct from back in the day. I wasn't sure who you guys were talking about and trying to get through these comments. So sorry, guys, if I'm a little behind. All right. 9 drinks. Ragnow played with a broken throat. I do recall that. Yeah. Well, ain't that something, man? Tough dude, man. And that's why I'm hopeful he'll play. Phil, hit the like. Let's move this show. Thanks for that. Jack, the Denver game is at Ford Field. Correct. All right. Phil, Why does Chat Sports make their host drink for money? It's kind of disgusting. That I don't know about. Haven't seen it. So I know Micro Show is on, and I think he's with Chat Sports. So any kind of deals they have worked out, I'm just not privy to. Smoke you some. Love seeing that Jerry Judy TD yesterday. Yeah, good for him, man, because I know he'd been under some flack and stuff. But that Denver team, I get a month ago, everybody was saying it's dead, it's trash, everybody fired. They ain't so trash anymore. They're starting to hit some strides. Bergs, Lions faithful, hit the like button. Tell others to subscribe. Dan's show is #1. Thanks for that, Bergs. Thanks very much for that. Jack, KC, and Chargers is on the road. Raiders and Broncos at Ford Field. And that's correct. And yeah, the game we come back with after the bye is the Chargers. So that'll be a good one. Elza, what do we got? Is St. Brown playing? I don't think we'll know until probably, 4 or 5, maybe 6 o'clock tonight. That's when their official final rosters have to come out, or ins and outs for the game. Inactives is what I should say. Don, what do you got? Good morning, Dan. Good morning to you, Don. Mr. Nico, hey, good morning, Coach. MCDC was asked in an interview if Brad Holmes said anything about potential trades. He smiled and said, "We just wait and see." What are your thoughts on that statement? So I know exactly the interview you're talking about. So I would say this: MCDC, since I struggle to say his last name, he's aware of everything that's going on, and he knows he can't say anything because of rules, because it'd be tampering if they came out publicly and said something like, "Hey, we're trying to trade for player AYBT or whatever." So yeah, I would say he's aware of it. It's just, my guess is the only reason why they haven't done it is whoever they're trying to trade with is hesitant to trade until they knew, basically last second decision, hey, are we going to be in the playoff race or not? So let's just say, for speculation, it's Washington or whoever. They're waiting the last second to have to make that choice on if they're going to trade a player. Okay, so let me get back here. All right, well, Kyle, what do we got? We got 52 minutes in. I got a minute or two, and then it's time for Mountain Dew. All right, Kyle, $70 million cap space next year. Brad needs to go shopping. I think he's, and this is just me speculating, I think he is trying to pull in some parts. I don't get the impression Brad Holmes is the kind of person, like some of you guys have talked about in the comment section, he prefers thrifty shopping. He does not like to go expensive shopping. And I think he's trying to get good value on anything he brings in. All right, Jerome, what are we missing not to get to the Super Bowl? The talk is that we're fraudulent. My opinion, what we need, I think our offense is fairly good. Could we use another running back and maybe more depth on the offensive line? Yeah. Another wide receiver, that's productive. Sure. What team wouldn't want it? But to me, if I'm watching us, I think our big hole is pass rusher opposite Aiden Hutchinson. I'd probably go with another good defensive tackle. I think we've got good players in there. We do not have a great player in there. Our secondary, Sutton's fine. Jerry Jacobs is improving, but I think we are razor thin beyond that. And there's a reason why. You guys have heard me talk about it. When Will Harris is out there, teams just say, skip the other guys. We're going after him, and they do. The thing that probably saved us from all having, really a bad weekend against Tampa Bay was the fact that I think it was Buggs that tipped the pass that Harris picks off, where Harris, for whatever reason, had a miscommunication, didn't go with Mike Evans. If that pass isn't tipped, Will Harris's coverage is a touchdown, 90 whatever yards to Mike Evans. The other thing was Harris got beat a couple times in, Mayfield just couldn't hit the deep pass. Some of that's because of our defensive front not allowing him to step up into the pocket. Well, that also being said, man, I just think you really need another corner. And like I said, pass rusher. Then I think you start looking at this defense a little bit differently. I'm willing to just write off the Ravens game. I think it was just bad schemes. Maybe Will Harris being out there didn't help, but you got to do something to shore up those two things. And then I think you got an opportunity to do some stuff, assuming everybody's healthy or whatever. It's going to be hard to add more than, I think, 2 players. So, we could get much better. It's just on our defense. I think we've got 1, potentially 2 great players. You're going to need more than that. I think, in order to make it to the Super Bowl and then do something at the Super Bowl. Probably way too long an answer for you there, but I mean, sometimes it happens. All right, Michael, what do you got? Good morning, all. One pride. Let's get that win tonight. I agree. Get it at all costs. All right, pound the drums. Thoughts on the Vikings and the rest of the division? I wouldn't toy around with, assuming Justin Fields comes back. I wouldn't toy around with Chicago. He does provide the stuff that hits a lot of our weaknesses. He's got an arm. He's mobile, and he can hit the seams up the sidelines fairly well. I mean, he can rifle that thing. So hopefully Aaron Glenn changes some of the schemes against mobile quarterbacks. I get the cone formation. I've talked about it a ton. It's great at times, but you can't let quarterbacks get comfortable. And that's the problem I really had with the Ravens and other games is you're going to let that guy have that long to pass. If they become patient, you're going to get ate up. And that really happened against the Ravens. The rest of the division, as far as Green Bay, they've got some real quarterback problems. I think there's legitimate thoughts that each of the three teams in our division are going to be trying to draft a quarterback to build around for the foreseeable future. So they've got some good parts here and there with each of them, but I think the Lions are set up potentially to have a couple-year window to dominate this division. All right, Jay Mommy. Hey, you had a bunch of people asking about you today, by the way. Tucker will never be the Wolverine coach. They made a huge mistake with Rich. Yeah, I'd say probably most of the fans and faithful will talk and agree with that. Cloud, who here is going to the game tonight? Not me tonight. I know just about all my neighbors, and the Sarge is going to be there. There are going to be a lot of people there, obviously. But, yeah, it'll be a packed place. Phil, the Vikings are done without Cousins. I agree. Manberg, smile. How you doing? Jay Mommy is getting – oh, boy. Here we go. Trey, Lions win 41-17 and make a trade for either Chase Young, Burns, or Surtain. Man, that would be something, wouldn't it? I mean, that goes down. We're going to have a lot to talk about over the bye. Ozzy Osbourne, good stuff listening to the show. I'm in GA from Grand Rapids. All right, rock on, man. So you're in Georgia right now? All right, good. You live down there now, or are you just down there for work or something? All right, Jay Mommy, don't be rude. Yeah, let's not be rude in the chat. Kyle, need to let Amaran rest. Everybody else needs to step up. We'll see what happens. Man, Barry. Lieutenant Dan, good morning. Mr. Do, Glow, yeah, like I said, it happens, man. Lieutenant Dan. Phil, Jay Mommy, good morning. J.I., time for Josh Reynolds to have a career day. Yeah, it'd be a real possibility for a lot of people, I think, to have big games. But just because I think it doesn't mean it'll happen. All right, Ozzy, what do you got? Myles Garrett, stay hurt too much. Don't like that one. Yeah, he plays hard, though, man. When he's out there, he's running through people. I mean, I like the way he plays, but, just part of being on that defensive line or offensive line, those guys take such a beating, man. Ryan, what do you got? If we lose, then what? It'll be a long 2 weeks. Yeah, you're 1,000% right. We come out and lose this game, man. I'm going to have to drink maybe a couple Mountain Dews before every show just to try to pump everybody up. Detroit East, give up first, Charles Harris, Romeo, and fourth for Miles. If they want those guys, yeah, throw them in because that would clear a lot of cap for Detroit. Ludley, what do you got? Raiders are still near 500 team. Yeah, they're not horrible by any means. Would Brad consider hiring the other St. Brown brother? Maybe. That's a good question. Is he a free agent? I want to say he was playing with somebody. So, Rocked on Podcast Network. Myles Garrett info reportedly will be Will Rock at 3 p.m. yesterday. And again, last night, report is it's something Super Bowl Nation. We'll be calling today to get more info. Okay. Ruby. Detroit East. Hope we get Daniel from Vikings. Yeah, Hunter. Yeah, that'd be a good fit there. We have to pay our own guys soon. Need the cap. That's the other part of it, that we will need to have some money available for that 100%. Key, what do you got? Hat trick of Detroit wins tonight on the first day. All three Detroit sports teams play. Let's go. Let's go indeed. Yeah, get that going. Let's hope it happens, because I do think Detroit's teams are starting to turn the corner. I don't pay attention to hockey that much, but it does seem like all three of the franchises are trending upwards. At this point, we'd get Okuda back better than Harris. Yeah, I would agree with that. We're not getting him back, so there we go. Supersize that dude tomorrow if we win. I might have to do that. All right, with that being said, we've been on for an hour, so I give you guys a little bonus time here. So, Phil, yeah, Circle K turns up the syrup. I'll just say this, man. When it comes to the Circle K, I've tried Mountain Dew at many different places. It's just something about their version. It works good for me. I will drive 20 minutes. If one of them's out, I'll go hit 2 or 3 other Circle Ks just for it. And did you know, there's a thing for you. I went to on some of my scouting trips when I got to go to other places looking for players and stuff like that. I had no idea in Ireland, Circle Ks are like McDonald's. They are everywhere. I tell you, man, you get out of the airport, you look down the street, there are like 20 Circle Ks, and that's an exaggeration. There's like a couple of them. But, man, some of these places, they got maitre d's. I mean, they got a rope. Dude's got to pull it across to let you go over, to sit down and get ready for your breakfast, your lunch, or your dinner. I mean, that stuff is serious there. Did you also know in China, Mountain Dew looks like it is one of those shaking pens, you crack, the glow light sticks, and that stuff is terrible. I would never recommend it to anybody. So there is your pro Mountain Dew tips of the day. Came from experience found through going to Circle K's. All right, you guys all have a great one. Make it a Dew one, and if we'll have the broadcast tonight. Peter and I will go on it. Like I said, there's a possibility there could be a delay on some of it. So we'll just do kind of general game commentary, not play-by-play commentary. But just everybody have fun with it. Have questions, fire them away. There's some breaking news today. I'll get on and get it to you guys. You guys did have some trade questions or whatever, so I'll talk to some of the people and see if anybody knows anything. But otherwise, have a good one. See you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care.